Welcome back to Booze Bros and Cars, your favorite podcast about booze and cars, and we're your hosts. I am Eric.
I'm Mike.
I'm Carmelo.
And I'm Nick.
All right, of course, first up, we are going to be talking about what we're going to be drinking tonight. I have a beer from King Fox. I did talk about them and gave them a shout out a couple weekends ago. So I have another one of their beers. It's called Strange Waves. It's a pale ale with passion fruit. The smell of it actually kind of reminds me of Mike, you actually might like this. It smells like Dogfish's 420 G13 strain, like the IPA. It's
Sweetwater, you mean?
Oh, Sweetwater. Yeah, Sweetwater.
Sweetwater G13.
Yeah,
so dank.
I'm sure it's the passion fruit, but the passion fruit really makes it smell like the G13 beer. Obviously it doesn't have anything, but it just smells like it. And then also myself and I believe Mike is as well. We're going to be drinking the infamous caramel pumpkin from Southern Tier. Definitely looking forward to tasting that because we love pumpkin beer here. Mike, what are you going to be drinking tonight?
Bitches.
Tonight, got a couple things starting off with an IPA. It's called Tropical Confusion. It's from a brewery out of Arkansas called Lost 40. This was actually given to me by one of our coworkers. The company I work for also has some stuff up in Arkansas, so this is one of the breweries up there. That's 6.3%. Hazy IPA brewed with tangerine. That's going to be the first one, and then, like Eric said, we're both going to be drinking some caramel pumpkin tonight to polish off the evening. So
yes,
Carmelo, what do you got tonight?
All right, so tonight I got two beers. The first one's going to be a collaboration. It's going to be Hidden Springs Ale Works in conjunction or collaboration with Tampa Bay Beer Week, or for Tampa Bay Beer Week, and it's called the Upside Down. Little fun wrapper on there. It's a pineapple upside down cake inspired sour ale with lactose and vanilla. Haven't tried it just yet, but it looks good. Little thinner than what I normally like. The other thing that I have is
not
also
thick enough.
Nah, not. It's not down with the thickness. Other thing I have is going to also be from the same. It's Hidden Spring Ale Works, and it's going to be their riot juice. I haven't had this before, but I did try something similar a year or two ago. Small batch that they made. It's basically sour ale with blueberry, lime, and vanilla. I'm sure that's going to be amazing. But figure, try something out from a semi-local, company, brewery, if you will. So, Nick, what you got?
So the first one's nothing special to show, other than some nice bubbles in there. Finally got my sixth keg of Southern Tier Pumpkin put in. Got the cap lines cleared out today after I lost my Micromatic cleaning kit. New one showed up in like 2 days, so got that bad boy done. So I have a nice Southern Tier Pumpkin on tap in the house now. We'll see how long it lasts after we have a bunch of friends over tomorrow night for a dinner party. So there's that, but a good old classic. The second beverage of the night, a nice little scotch that I picked up. It's in a Woodford glass, so I'm not trying to show that. But it is called, it's from Highland Park. It's a 12-year. It is called their Vikings, or Viking Honor. So it's, it was sitting top shelf. I wouldn't say it's quite top shelf. It's something $70, $75, something along those lines. But just a nice, should be a good 12-year aged scotch. I haven't actually tried it yet. It's a single malt, 43% alcohol. The bottle just caught my eye. Beautiful bottle. So picked it up while I was in there, grabbing some other random things for old fashions. Looking forward to trying it out.
Nice. The Viking theme is definitely right up your alley.
Right. It's a shame this week I shaved all my beard off, but
Yeah. All right. So first up with car news this week. So gonna briefly talk about Formula One today. So Daniel Ricciardo was actually it was practice one or FP1. He actually got into an accident right before who was it that got into an accident? The kid in the McLaren. I keep forgetting his name.
Liam Lawson?
No.
Was Liam actually with the practices?
No, the kid in the McLaren that took his seat last year.
Piastri. Yes.
Yeah, Piastri. Yeah,
Oh,
Piastri crashed
yeah.
first, and then Ricciardo crashed right shortly thereafter him. Which kind of sucks because he actually ended up breaking.
Where they crashed?
I don't remember. It was like one of those like hairpin turns. Well, it wasn't like a sharp hairpin. It was like a more like banked hairpin.
Okay.
But they both actually crashed right next to each other. But Daniel Ricciardo ended up actually breaking his wrist, which kind of sucks. So that means that he's going to be out of a few races this year. Which sucks even more is because he was actually in the driver's seat from being he was trying to get back into Red Bull, but they put him in the AlphaTauri car for the time being, and he was actually running the rest of the season so he can sign for 24. So hopefully that doesn't affect him because Daniel Ricciardo is a very good driver. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery here from his wrist, and so he can jump back into the cockpit of that AlphaTauri. So next up is actually going to be I might butcher this name again because you know it's just a weird name for a car, but it's a ridiculously cool car. The McMurty Speirling car. Mike, I know that you said that. I know that you said that you have something pulled up. Do you want to go ahead and pull that up?
Yep. Let me do a little share screen right now.
Cool.
Yeah, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is just because we haven't quite really got over this. I know this has been in the news, for a couple of years now. It kind of blew everybody's minds at Goodwood.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to bring it up. I saw something. I can't remember if it was an Instagram reel or on Facebook or something, but it was running. It was another video of the McMurty Speirling running Goodwood again. And just seeing this thing move and hearing the noises that it makes for an electric car it's just absolutely insane looking and sounding. It kind of looks like the Batmobile, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's got that vibe to it. All the way around the back
it's
of
like
the car.
if the Batmobile were a chode.
Or think more of a Batmobile version of like a micro machine.
Yeah, it's like the Batmobile went backwards into a wall too fast or something.
Yeah, what was that game? Remember the game? Wasn't it Cartoons where the cars were all squished up and
But yeah, I wanted to talk about some of the numbers on this thing. Like it's kind of mind blowing. Whether it's the weight, it says right here, despite its battery and electric motors, the Speirling weighs a mere 2,000 pounds. I read on a different page that it has 4,400, I believe, pounds of downforce, which is just insane. And if you read into it a little bit more, I'm going to collapse the screen now. Stop sharing. But if you read into it a little bit more, one of the reasons why it has so much downforce is there are two fans located to the back of the cockpit that basically suck air from the bottom of the car, and it basically pushes it on the ground. It's basically pulling the pavement into the car as it drives.
Those little Chaparros way back in the day.
Yeah, and if Eric can, when you're editing this later, you want to throw a video in here so people can hear it when it's running Goodwood. It makes you hear the electric motors, but you hear that just massive suction noise coming from these fans that are pushing it. It almost sounds like a jet turbine, but it's just it's so insanely fast. Like I was reading the I don't think it was the Koenigsegg. I think it was the Bugatti Veyron. I think at top speed only produces something like 450 pounds of downforce at full tilt, and this thing creates 4,400 pounds. It's insane. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on it? It's a cool thing.
We knock EVs all the time, but it's batshit crazy. Like that is just absolutely nuts. Like whole other level. The problem is it's one of those things you look at it and it's like tiny, kind of cute, menacing looking still at the same time. You're like, oh man, this would be like, the EV Miata until what's the price tag on this damn thing? Like that's my question.
Yeah.
Like, what is something that's go
820 pounds when I looked it up on their official website.
Yeah, so I mean it's a big ticket item for some playboys that want a fun tool for one person to drive. So
0 to 60 in 1.4 seconds. I mean,
actually,
I can't even
now
rip your face off.
G-force.
Oh,
yeah. Now that you're saying that, there's actually a video. I'll try to clip it right here.
So this is it from the McMurty Speirling. horsepower map 4, so the full 1,000 brake horsepower, and then 23,000 RPM on the fan. So 2,000 kilos of downforce, 0 to 60 in 1.3 seconds. Wow. But the mad thing is that rather like the McLaren F1's incredible top speed, the McMurty Speirling straight line acceleration is really just a byproduct of what this fan car is really all about.
But there is a video of somebody actually test driving it, and from dead stop to acceleration, and they actually did say that it hits 0 to 60 in 1.4 seconds. And the dude literally looked, I mean, I'm assuming that this thing literally just launches like a bat out of hell, because it literally just knocked them back. I mean, granted, like you're wearing harnesses and things like that, but you can see that he's like locked into the chair, and he's just like or to the seat, and he's holding that steering wheel with dear life. So yeah, that thing looks like it's insane. But yeah, I'll have to clip also the video of the car at Goodwood. I'll go ahead and I'll clip that right here as well. So that, you know, everybody can actually enjoy that footage of the McMurty Speirling going around the Goodwood track. But yeah, I mean, I was reading some specs on it, and it is insane. I mean, it's roughly, for anybody that's watching or listening to this, it's roughly the size or a little bit shorter than a Chevy Spark. Which the Chevy Spark is not a big car at all. It's a very tiny vehicle. Like Mike said, it's roughly 2,000 pounds, and it has 999 horsepower. I mean, the power to weight ratio on that thing is obnoxious. It's ridiculous.
Insane.
And I mean, when it comes to performance, especially with acceleration and actually just acceleration in general, a lot of people really don't factor power to weight at all. And this has a pretty solid power to weight ratio. It's like what, like for every 2 pounds, it's like what, or for every 1 horsepower? Yeah, for 1 horsepower, it's 2 pounds. I mean, that's insane. That's stupid.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It kind of reminds me of, or it makes me see that there's going to be more than just Teslas and like Leafs, and you know the lower end EVs. You know, now that there's private companies coming out doing cool things with them. I know there's been some, you know, very high dollar, but it seems like this company just keeps tweaking it, and the tweaks that they make are making it newsworthy and relevant again 6 months, a year, 18 months later. You know, it just going to show that there's a new, you know, that there's interest in the EV market, and it doesn't have to be boring, like the equivalent of driving a Prius in the, you know, 2000s or 2010s. That there is ways to make EVs fun.
I really just wonder when they do create a production model of this, which I just looked at a bunch of different websites, and there's dollar figures ranging from 1 million to 2.5, so it's going to be up there. But I just wonder, like, if you're going to be able to harness the same amount of power in a street legal vehicle, or if they're going to have to kind of curb some of that, detune it, you know, maybe not the same motors in the street legal version of it.
I mean, to me, it seems insane to build it as a street legal vehicle.
It is insane. The car's nuts. It's a monocoque frame, and from what I read, the interior of the car is basically built around the person purchasing it. So like
that makes sense.
It's like a shell around you. So
it's a street legal race car at that point. I mean,
pretty much.
What I mean.
An
it's
LMP car,
single seater. It just seems like a weird thing to put in production. in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy, but I'd love to see one driving around
I
Naples.
mean,
or something. That'd be cool.
get like a like a so many off bespoke build for people with a bunch of money. I kind of get that. I don't know that I ever foresee it being a production car, so to speak, just
No.
because of that.
Yeah,
Almost more like a carriage car that there's going to be 20 or 30 built. And
Yeah, well, kind of like
they'll be custom tailored.
There's a couple out there that do that bespoke.
Fine.
Morgan, isn't that the Morgans are out there and stuff like that. Stuff like that where it's like truly specific build. Like I foresee it being something like that.
So I kind of
it's awesome.
had like a very interesting thought about this because considering the fact that it is going to be an EV vehicle and it's going to be a tiny car, I see it kind of being, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just my thought process about it. It could actually be a dangerous car to drive on the road because it is very tiny and it's going to have no exhaust noise.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, like we have like Mike's Miata, for instance, it's a very tiny car, but it has a very loud exhaust, so you can hear it. So if somebody's driving behind it, even if they're not paying attention, because obviously drivers today, they're constantly on their cell phones, they're being distracted by things. I mean, if Mike downshifts, you're gonna hear it. Same thing with my Corvette, same thing with
but
Carmelo's car.
If McMurty wants to make their car louder, they just need to go over to Nick's house. We've got a welder, we can do it in the rain, no problem. We did it once, we can do it again.
That can get real sketchy. But here's my concern with that, man, because even though I had my Miata, dude, it's kind of freaky being on the road. I've gotten almost run over by some big Super Duties multiple times, not paying attention.
Yeah.
It's loud or not, it's sketchy down here. Like that's
that
thing is.
I mean, of all the times I've driven the Miata, the one thing that I do when I drive that car is I drive very proactively and aggressively just to stay away from people. Because if you do find yourself next to a big vehicle and you're in their blind spot, they're not going to see you. I mean, I can't tell you how many times somebody tries to merges on you without knowing you're there. So. To your point, Nick, it's always nerve-wracking when you're driving around town in that thing.
Part of the reason why I'm getting the wife out of my Genesis, it's lowered, and putting her into a damn Bronco. Like I've almost gotten that thing too many times. Well, and she's slowly driving that thing into the ground. Between her and the kids,
quite literally.
The sooner I get her out of it, the sooner I get that thing, get her out of that, and into something lifted, or not lifted, but just a big SUV again. And I can save that poor car and start working on it, clean up the body, paint work, and start moving forward with it as a little fun toy. But it's fun.
Yeah. When do you guys get your Bronco? When do you guys get the Bronco?
Currently, the ETA is anywhere between 8:30 and 9:05. So we're within a week and a half. It's in Orlando right now. It's been unloaded from the rail car. It hasn't been loaded onto a truck yet. So.
Nice.
Orlando is where all the delays happen if they do happen. So they got to check it out, look it over, and stuff like that. And then once it's ready, it'll get loaded up onto a 10-car hauler and make its way the 3-hour drive down to Fort Myers. So it could get loaded tomorrow and be here before the month's out. So it's hard to say at this point. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, I mean, like it's literally right around the corner. So you guys should have a new vehicle in your driveway relatively soon. So that's awesome.
One way or the other, by the first, second week of September, we'll have it in here.
That's awesome.
I already set the financing up. My guys were studs. Got me a nice rate concession. At the dealership. But with current rates going on, lease rates weren't great. They got me a great lease concession. We've got a phenomenal finance department, and we have a hell of a relationship with Ford. I mean, we've been doing this for 97 years.
Yeah,
as a family dealership, so
that's
hell
crazy.
of a relationship with the manufacturer, and that helped out a lot. So. Very excited. Now that I got that rate concession on my approval, super excited for this thing to come in and get her in and get her driving it.
Well, I guess it helped out a lot having Henry Ford being at your dealership way back in the day. So,
like I said, we're considered what they call a legacy dealership. We're one of a handful that are same family since day one. So it's like there's I think there's like 5 or 6 legacy dealerships or something like that. Like, there's not a lot. That have been for this long under the same family. I mean, we're 3 years away from a century under the same family. So which is just awesome. And the 5th generation is actively learning the business right now. Like one of the sons is actively working through all of service and parts right now to learn everything he can. And so that's what's great too. The family's not one of those, hey, You're now the owner. They're like, no, you're going to work through everything, learn it all from the ground up before you take over someday, which is just awesome because they're gonna be amazing owners when that time comes because they're gonna know it.
They're gonna have experience in all parts. It might be limited to a year or so in each place, but they're gonna understand. They're not just gonna be corporate CEO saying we need to cut funds without thinking of the consequences.
And that just tells you everything you know about the family that owns the place. They're there for their employees. They're there for their people, for the community. I mean, they're involved in every way possible.
Wow.
I can't say enough good things about them.
Nice. That's awesome. That's actually really good to hear that, you are working for a dealership that actually has been, it's the same family involved in the industry for so many years. You said it's almost a century at this point. So that's actually really awesome.
97 years since 1927.
That's insane, man.
That's amazing. Years. I mean, you think of all the dealerships and all the negative stories people have. The dealership can't be taking advantage of their customers or doing things that are shady or suspicious being around that long. They just wouldn't last.
Yeah. That's why most dealerships now are Ford of whatever city, right? Chevy of whatever city.
With no name.
But we still have the family's name plastered on everything because they're proud of it, and that's their reputation, that's their name. That's the way it goes. So that tells them when you see a dealership that's got their family name on it still, you instantly know that should be a good dealership because they wouldn't survive if that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, we know that. Yeah, and I mean, like, we know that there's a group of dealerships that Nick used to work at that just recently changed from being a family-owned business to being a corporate business, and actually now having the city of Fort Myers' name on the dealership. So, very, very valid point.
Now, I have to say though, with that is I'm not gonna say genius, but a very good marketing and advertising decision. And I won't go into it, but basically, you spend more. You spend less on your Google AdWords and stuff like that when you're not buying your family name, when you're just buying the city, the region, and stuff like that. So that's why a lot of them do that nowadays. But that was also they changed it during the takeover. So
still not a fan of that enterprise or that corporation. Had some bad experiences, not with the local ones.
I'm just leave it as is. There's way worse out there. That's all I'll say. I dealt with way worse. Those guys are just going. Frankly, there's some things that are, but growing pains. They're growing very quickly.
Yeah,
quicker than they really can staff, and that's one of the biggest issues, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have my take on them, especially after realizing a couple things because I bought my Corvette.
You bought a car from?
Yeah, recently.
Well,
my
actually,
Corvette.
I did too, technically.
Oh, your Genesis, yeah. Well, I mean, I got my car.
Well, no, I got that while the Santa Fe was under then.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but that was just after you left, and that was still.
I kind of walked in.
You got a hookup.
So.
But anyway,
how was your experience, Eric? I mean, I know we knew some people there, but I had a terrible experience at another dealership, and then heard a couple terrible stories about another dealership.
Realistically, I mean, like the one dealership that I bought mine from, I mean, like I know, like I got in contact with the finance guy that works there because he's a good buddy of mine, and of Nick's too. Great guy.
So you were just some guy on the street. I got you.
Yeah, like I sent him a message about my Corvette, and I was like, hey, like what's the story behind this car? And he literally just messaged me, come look at it, come buy it. It's clean as hell. That's all he responded back with. So I mean, I trust his word because like he is a car guy, like he loves cars, and he has had he had a C7 Corvette, right? C7 Callaway Corvette.
C7 Callaway.
Yeah, he let me drive it. Actually, his car made me want to like after I drove his car because it was a manual transmission. It made me want a Corvette. And then there's a couple of other influences that made me that pushed my decision to get it, which obviously one of them. I've talked about him a couple of times before. We actually hung out with him last week. Chris Crane, big influence of me getting my Corvette because he has a C7. He has an 07. I have an 06. And then also
C6.
Huh? The what?
You said C7. C6.
No, I said he has a C6. Did I say C7? Okay, I meant to say he has a C6. Yeah. No. I said he has an 07. No, I said he has an 07. I said he has an 07.
Yeah, no.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm leaving. I'm leaving it. I don't care.
Nick.
It's the beers. I've had a couple beers today, so it's the beers. Um,
Blame it
but
on the
and
alcohol.
yeah, and then also, I
Blame
mean,
it
of
on
course,
Oh.
of
Sorry.
course, because yeah, and of course because of drifting things. Taylor Ray has a composition built Corvette C6 Corvette, so that kind of pushed me over the edge. But anyways,
Well, you can't ignore the LS as a superior power plant to most.
I mean, no, you can't. But
And your car has some nice curves. I'll be real. Like it
it does.
It looks good.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
Thick and
aside
It's
all
not the
that.
Grand Sport that's got a little more bubble, but it's
Yeah.
still curvy.
Can we
Exactly.
stop talking about it because I'm not allowed to get one anymore? So
What?
I'm a
Time
little,
out.
I'm a
Why
little
not?
upset.
Well, no, he needs a back seat, so he's looking at.
He needs a
the
back
Camaro
seat.
instead.
It's a long story, Carmelo.
Corvettes don't have
Oh.
back seats, which really funny, really funny.
Because
So
there's a good point to it. I have two cars that I don't drive because I have a company vehicle. So it would be getting another car that I would not drive. Obviously, I'd get rid of one and replace it, but then I still have two cars I don't drive. So in our
Oh, I thought you were getting rid of the
lovely
Miata
wife.
and the Elantra for
he
Camaro.
is.
that would be
Oh, okay.
that would be the goal.
So then, but I'm kind of in the same boat. I got a company car. I got the Mustang. I got the Frontier this week. So it's one of those. I think my wife would be happy if I downsized to one instead of two. Yours wouldn't, like she really, because she has the big 3-row SUV. Like why?
Yeah, no, and that's just it. We take her car everywhere when we go places, and it's like, do I want to have two cars sitting in the garage that I never get to drive, or do I want to have one that I really want to drive?
You
But
open the garage
stipulation-
door and it's just sitting there. You turn it on and it just gives you the tingles.
The stipulation to that is that it needs to have a back seat. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Someday it'll
I get
happen.
that.
Yeah,
That's
I
what-
got-
I mean,
got
it's
time.
logical.
So-
Yeah, I'm just lucky
It
that
is.
my wife thankfully loves what will be our soon extra car, and I don't have to get rid of it because she wants to drive a stick shift, and it has rear seats. So,
But Nick,
And
you
four
currently
doors,
have
but-
3 cars, and none of them are company cars.
well,
Yeah,
anymore,
that's true.
yeah.
That's a
But
good point.
okay, I
Well,
currently
2.5.
have
The
three.
one doesn't have an engine. It doesn't run. You're right.
The
It
one,
is
the
2.5.
front, the front suspension's disassembled. The whole front subframe's out of it. You can't even.
When are we
get
gonna
it
work
About
on
to
it?
be
but,
3.5.
So I was actually talking about this at work today. As soon as the Bronco's in and the small accessories get added to it that we bought, like the Bronco lettering, the blue to match the car, the blue grip handles, and the little stubby antenna. Once that's all in and we take delivery of it, that thing won't be getting a whole lot of love. The Explorer springs came in yesterday. I haven't got a chance to install them yet, so the Explorer will be getting about a 1.8, 1.9 inch drop in the next week or so. And then that's it. And that money's been spent already. So after
that's
that,
it. We know
it's
that's
going to
not,
be
not true.
I need to order the rear coilovers for the Porsche, and I need to order the new bushings so I can at least get it as a rolling chassis again. I mean, I've already got the new wheels for the different offsets, so it's just a matter of buying 2 more big items that aren't actually that expensive in the grand scheme, and getting it all installed and getting it back on the ground, and then I can start saving to dump into the engine swap. So, but now we'll have the household fleet of running vehicles done, and then I can start messing with that.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
As much as I want a big turbo the Genesis, but I'm gonna pump the brakes on that one.
Yeah. All right. So the next topic we're briefly going to be touching on is going to be the EPA. So apparently, they're no longer going to be prioritizing emission defeat devices. So that means that I'm assuming emission defeat devices are actually going to be like tuners and or just tuners in general. So that means that a lot of guys that have trucks, diesel trucks, and the whole rolling coal thing, they're not going to be cracking down on it as much because they're not prioritizing on it anymore. So because of that, I'm kind of hoping that they kind of loosen up on a few other things, like the whole combustion engine and trying to enforce the whole EV thing. Because in my opinion, I think that we're years away from being prepared to actually go fully EV. I don't think what's the goal right now? 2030 or 2040 or something like that?
2035.
2035.
Current government goal.
I honestly don't think that time frame it's not ideal because
they can't build the charging infrastructure quickly enough. Or
no way.
Yes. So that was going to be my exact point. So there are countries that EV vehicles is an ideal situation. And the one country that really comes into mind is actually the UK. So obviously the UK is an island, and I mean, whether it's Great Britain, Ireland, and Scotland, I mean,
Wales.
It's not a big island. So you can literally travel from the south of the island to the north of the island, from east to west, and vice versa. And there's tons of charging stations. I mean, as far as I've seen, I've never been there, but from what I've seen in Top Gear or the Grand Tour with the Trio, for anybody that doesn't watch those shows that is listening to the podcast, it's Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond. So anytime they do go to like gas stations, there's charging stations. It makes sense to have both together. I mean, and what isn't ideal is that from what I've seen recently is that there's a lot of people that are spending hours charging their car, and apparently these charging stations they have to pay for. So you have to pay like 35, 45, 50 bucks to charge your car for over an hour, and you're sitting there. So there was a video, I got to see if I'll hunt it down, and I'll actually add it on here as well. But there's a guy that made a joke, and he's like, if you guys are going to have me charging my car without like a fast charger or anything for over an hour, at least build like a lounge where I can go and I can chill out for an hour. So in the United States, I don't think we're ready for going fully EV. Like we still need combustion engines, or we need hybrids.
Not at all. I mean, look at it this way. Compared to Europe, dude, I mean, they bought into the idea of diesels for non-trucks, and we can't even get that shit straight. Yeah. So they're so far ahead of us in the idea of alternative fuels and other types of fuels. You know, that's why they can afford to do this right now. We're so behind because we're stubborn.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just like the EPA thing, like the defeat devices, like does that mean Volkswagen can bring in another diesel? Like, I mean, the VW guy,
yeah.
But so bringing up to your point, Eric, about the EVs.
That's a tough subject right now, the whole Dieselgate thing.
But so one of my buddies, shout out to Marco, he has a Tesla 3, the regular model. It's not a performance, it's not the extended range, dual motor, just a regular. He went to Universal with his girlfriend, now fiance, and back, and I think a day or 2 days, and he had to do 3 stops. And which is kind of surprising. Tesla advertises 230 miles, give or take. But he went up, he went down, he went the back way. So I don't know if that changed. The map had him go that way. But my concern is, like, I don't know if you guys have been in a Tesla, but being inside his car, like when you're charging, there's a big screen you can put on YouTube. You can dim the lights to get that lounge effect. I know other cars still feel like cars. But at least the Tesla does it right, where you can lay down, you can turn on, the AC. The seats are comfortable enough you could sleep. I could take a nap in. But it's just one of those, like, I think Tesla has it right. They still need to work on their infrastructure, like you mentioned. Absolutely. But I think the point of all this was I don't see cars going full EV by 2035. I have a feeling there's going to be majority hybrid, and then there's still going to be almost like in Nick, I can't remember what it's called, but there's like an average domestically in Europe as well, where they have to have an
thing
average
for the manufacturers, where they have to have a certain percentage. They have to have an average mile per gallon for the fleet, which is where like Dodge cheated in a sense, like not cheating, but they use the Chrysler stuff and all the other things to bring that average down while they were doing all the Hemis and shit.
Tesla stuff,
you had that kind of stuff, right? Same thing with Ford doing supercharged V8s and stuff. Those are small production numbers. It's not that much of an issue, but yeah, the EPA does make the fleet number has to have a certain MPG average, and that's how they do that, and that's how they base their allocations and their build numbers every year too.
See, I just like I really don't think our country's going to be there anytime soon. To Eric's point, I do think city centers should be where they're focusing most of their efforts, and I think they are in a lot of places. When you're looking at Chicago, you're looking at New York, you're looking at big cities in California, you're looking at these places where you have a huge amount of people in a very small footprint. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get rid of combustion vehicles. Put everybody that has a home own an electric vehicle. But me personally, I'm not ready to get to that point because Carmelo, you just mentioned like the Model 3. If it's only got a 200 something range, well, you got to know when you hit that 200 where you're going to be. Like where's the end point? Like in my car, regardless of the range, when I get in my wife's CX-9 and we go on a road trip, I know when we run out of gas, there's going to be a gas station a mile away from where we run out of gas.
And there's your infrastructure. So all right, check this out. One of my finance guys brought this up the other day. There's this thing going around among scientists. And, okay, now I heard this from somebody else. I have not looked into this, so I challenge some people to check this out. Basically, what he heard through some sites and stuff like that is, and this kind of comes down to the EV thing and using less oil and stuff like that and less fossil fuel. Basically, that the Earth is consistently producing oils, fossil fuels, things of that nature, creating pressure under the crust. And if this is a theory now, apparently that some scientists have back, that if we stop tapping into this at the same levels we are, if we start cutting back on these things, we're actually going to unsettle the Earth, and it's going to build pressure to the point of potential destruction. So this is like I just heard this like in the last week or two, and it was like, holy shit, it kind of blew my mind. That in theory, if we keep doing the shit we're doing and moving towards EV, moving towards alternatives and stuff like that, and stop tapping into the crust sources of oil and fossil fuels, that we could potentially be turning the Earth into a ticking time bomb of pressure and fuels.
So we single-handedly as a species brought this upon ourselves, and we're somehow also correcting the problem that we started without knowing that that's actually what we're doing.
Basically, yeah. So now I challenge any of you guys, anybody watching, you guys on the podcast yourselves, to look that up. I haven't looked it up yet. Now this is just something I heard. I have to preface that I have not looked into this. I heard this from somebody that I generally trust his opinion and the things he's read, because he usually reads them pretty deep. But I'm not going to say names, nothing like that. It's something to look into, and apparently there's some scientists talking about it and kind of backing it. So I'm going to Google it probably later, but
I don't know. I'm intrigued because the Earth is 5,000 years old, give or take 4,000 or 5,000 years old. Going back carbon dating, and what archaeologists say, like realistically, at a minimum, I believe that's what archaeologists have put us at.
Do you mean thousands or billions?
Billions.
Yeah.
So we've carbon dated back thousands. Obviously, I believe it's more, but what I'm speaking what we can prove. Okay,
yeah,
so
I was going to say billions of years.
But so the issue that I have with this theory is that we've only been drilling for oil the past, we'll call it 200 years. And I think I'm being generous with that number. If that would be true, what pressure have we stopped in the past 200 years? Would that be volcanic, tectonic plates?
What I said, though, is like we might be building pressure by creating the combustion engines at the same time that we're pulling stuff out. So maybe it has something to do with the ozone.
Well, and that's just it. And also think about it, right, Carmelo, to your point, and only in the last couple 100 years that we've been tapping into this. Think of all the historic talk of cataclysmic events, whether it be asteroids, Earth freezing over, like all these things that have happened time and time again since the creation of this planet.
Well, that's another thing, though.
Have we calmed that by releasing pressure?
We're kind of going on a tangent, but like they say it's all about cycles. It's just like we live in Florida, right? Hurricanes are a thing, but it's not like every year, knock on freaking wood, man. We just had a bad one last year, but it's there's cycles. You have your bad years, and then it gets better for a few, and it gets quiet, and you have nothing. It's El Nino, La Nina, whatever. From what I've read, the Earth is the same way. It goes through cycles. It'll get hot, something happens, and then it cools back down again, and then we build it back up, and it gets hot.
And that's the question. Can we regulate that?
Yeah.
Well,
by burning more gas and racing more
I'm
cars.
not religious, but can you play God? It's one of those things where there's got to be a lot more research put into it, but
Yeah.
one of those things.
It's intriguing to say the least. I'm not a believer just yet, but I'm intrigued.
Clearly, we need to ask the aliens. We know they're out there now.
They know what's going on.
They know.
The government confirmed it. So
Look, for all we know, they've been trying to show up and trying to warn us, but we keep pretty much screwing them over.
See,
putting them in
car guys. We're car guys, and this is a car show. So what we need to ask the aliens is what kind of combustion engines they're using, because that's what we need to be doing.
Yes, I feel like
I thought they were using nuclear power.
Yeah, well, I mean, something. Could it be biologic engines? Who the hell knows? I think we're touching on some Joe Rogan podcast kind of stuff.
Listen. If I can talk to an alien so that I can make my Corvette go from 0 to 60 in like less than 1 second, I'm all for it. With nuclear power and all, I'm all for it. By the way, I did want to add
hydrogen electric's the future.
Yeah, I did want to add we're not scientists or anything like that, so anything that we say in the podcast,
we're both friends that drink beer and talk cars.
Yeah, just do your own research and put it in the comment below. Put it in the comment below what you actually found. Actually, link it to us. Like, just add a link, and we'll look at it and we'll talk about it next week. But anyways, all right, let's go ahead and do a quick beverage recap here. And talk about the beers that we've been drinking. I'll go ahead and kickstart it off. So the Strange Waves from King Fox. I like it. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. King Fox is awesome. They're really good. I've enjoyed the beers that I've drunk so far. As I mentioned, this is a pale ale with passion fruit. It's 5.6% alcohol. Yep, 5.6. Really good. As I mentioned earlier, it did have that smelled like a Sweetwater G13 beer. It actually had the flavor of it too. It more than likely was a passion fruit, but really good. Really enjoyed the stuff. And then the caramel pumpkin, great beer. It tastes just like regular pumpkin, but the caramel actually is subtle, in my opinion. I think, Nick, I think you actually said that yesterday or today.
Yeah, for me it was subtle because I had it last week, but I also finished my bourbon right before I tried it, and I was worried that I just fried my palate for anything else more subtle after that. So that's why I was interested to hear what you had to say about it.
Yeah, which I don't think that it really fried your palate. The caramel is very subtle. You can smell it more than when you can taste it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not against it. It smells phenomenal. Like it smells like caramel pumpkin pie, I guess you can say. It smells amazing. Mm-hmm. But I like it. I'll definitely drink it again. But I mean, you can't knock the OG pumpkin, which I'm kind of looking forward to going to your house tomorrow and drinking some because it's so good.
Fresh on tap. I almost wanted to imagine that it was like a pumpkin pie that had been in the oven just on broil just a little bit and caramelized the top. That's what I wanted to imagine, right?
Yeah.
And I just didn't get it. But I literally finished the bourbon and I dove into the bottle, and I think that kind of screwed it up. But sorry,
No, you're good. Actually, that's kind of why I have a water bottle. And I was kind of drinking water to kind of cleanse my palate a little bit. So I might have to start doing that so I don't mix the flavors of beer. Anyways, Mike, go ahead and share your thoughts on the caramel pumpkin and then also your other beer.
So I'll start with the Lost 40. So this was really good. The tangerine came through really robustly. Big punch of citrus to it. 6.3% alcohol. It was really, really easy to drink. That's not really high, but it was really easy to put down. I am very thankful that I got to try this because after reading the can, and I knew a little bit about the brewery, but they only can and produce beer for Arkansas, and I don't get to go to Arkansas very often, so pretty cool. That one of my coworkers brought some of these back when they had to go out there for a trip for work, but beer was really good. It was a good starter. On the caramel pumpkin, I don't want to say I'm more of a connoisseur than you guys, but I get a lot.
You've been trained in this, so
I get a lot of caramel actually. So I think I have an extra bottle of this. So for our little dinner party tomorrow, we're gonna compare draft pumpkin to another bottle of the caramel?
Well, I have one left as well, one bottle that my wife is for her, but we do have a bottle here as well.
I'll bring mine too. But I do, to Eric's point, there is a lot on the nose. You get a lot of the aroma from it, but it is really, really sweet. Pumpkin is usually a sweet beer anyway. But I do get a lot of the sweetness from the caramel. And when you're talking about caramel, essentially all it is sugar.
Burnt sugar.
So it's burnt sugar, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's subtle because of the beer itself. There's a lot of other complex flavors like the cinnamon, the nutmeg, all that stuff. But it's good. I think it's a little too sweet for me. I like regular pumpkin. Which is also sweet, but this takes it a little bit higher.
A touch of caramel.
A note on this beer. I think this is the first time they've done a caramel. They might have done it on draft, like up at their breweries, in New York and in Pittsburgh when they had it. But it used to be a coffee variant that they would release. So you had the regular pumpkin, you have Warlock, which is the Imperial Stout, and then they would do a coffee pumpkin. This is the first year we've gotten caramel. So this is kind of experimental, I guess. But it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, it was.
I would like to compare it side by side to regular pumpkin, though, just to see what the
damage we do tomorrow night to my keg. I'll be ordering a Warlock probably real soon if they still got some.
Get it quick, man. There's only a couple of them kicking around. But Carmelo, give us your recap.
All right. So the upside down pineapple from Hidden Springs Ale Works, pretty good. A little more sour, not as sweet. It was really good. Went down kind of smooth, but again, very, very tart. It was where the tartness was inconsistent. So some sips weren't too bad, and others were very tart. I just cracked open the riot juice. Something a little different. Not tart at all. Smooth. I think they're both around 5.5. They're both 5.5%. So nothing too crazy. But I'm definitely feeling the riot juice more than the upside down. Ironically, I'm not a big fan of upside down pineapple cake or pineapple upside down cake. I mean, I like cake, just not that one. So, so it's something different to try. And again, semi-local or regionally local brewery. But yeah, the rye juice is pretty good. That lime and vanilla, there's a hint of lime, and it's not overpowering, but it kind of balances out the sweetness of the lime. Or I'm sorry, sweetness of the vanilla. So overall, it's pretty good.
I have to add a quick comment here. So I feel like they kind of missed a mark here because they called the beer it's the upside down something.
Yeah, the upside down, and there's a picture of a pineapple.
Yeah, I feel like they missed a mark. They could have done like a Stranger Things like theme on the art, and still it'd be like an upside down pineapple cake because Stranger Things, the upside down. I feel like they kind of missed a mark on that one.
I think they're going a different route with this pineapple, sir.
I mean, I can see that.
Not a route that I go down, but I think they're going. I think they're going a different route.
Can I also make a note? I recently heard this because one of the bosses for my company was wearing a shirt that had pineapples all over it. And some of them are upside down. I don't know if you guys know the connotation between
swinger thing.
Oh, the camping thing. Yeah, with campers, they put a bunch of pineapples and they tend them upside down.
If you have upside down pineapples on the outside of your camper or whatever, it means you're ready to party. So.
Isn't that funny how a normal pineapple is Southern hospitality, and the moment you flip it, things get weird.
I mean, that can also be Southern hospitality, though. I mean,
sure. Hey, let me southernly toss your salad.
What is a southern toss salad, Nick? Now that we're out here, you gotta.
First off, we're not gonna like some jello. First off, okay, hold on. First off, we're not gonna get into that right now. We're not gonna get into that.
Why? I'm intrigued, and I'm sure our viewers are
No. You can take that offline. I'm not concerned about that at all.
Comments if you've ever hung an upside down pineapple on the outside of your door.
Eric, you want me to get drunk and get obnoxious on these things? And
I do, but not that. Not about that. Anyways,
right. Nick, what are you?
Go ahead.
What are your thoughts?
Nick, how is your
the pumpkin was terrible. I finished it. It was terrible. But no, seriously,
Is that your fourth one?
pumpkin is phenomenal. Out of a bottle, out of a keg at your local bar, a keg at your house. It's awesome. So for anybody thinking about it, convert that mini fridge from college, man, to a kegerator. That's exactly what I did. Man, my fridge is 15 years old from college, and that bitch still running. I converted it into kegerator like 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still going strong. Micromatic for anybody out there. There's plenty of brands. Obviously, Mike knows a lot of the brands out there. Micromatic has a phenomenal single or double tap kit. I bought a single kit just because. Yeah. They're efficient. I lost my cleaning kit. Me and the wife could not find it. We had the keg in the house, could not find the kit. I ordered it and I had it in 2 days. And I chose just standard ground shipping and I had it in 2 days. So that was awesome. But yeah, for anybody considering it, seriously, look into it. Look into converting an old mini fridge to a kegerator. It's phenomenal. Regardless of the beer you put in there, just don't be like us and get something that's like an Coppertail Unholy Triple for your first time, because the novelty of having a keg and then a 9-point-something% out beer, we got shit faced our first night. Just not even thinking about it, just having fun with it.
Amateurs.
Oh man, that night snuck up on me pretty good. Now, as far as the Scotch, the Highland Park, if you're not into that smoky, peaty flavor, right? Because they smoke the peat for this, yeah, you're not gonna like it. But it's smoky. You get a lot of that peat flavor. And for being a slightly higher ABV by a few percent, I personally think it's pretty smooth. I do regularly drink dark liquors, neat, room temp, so kind of conditioned for this, I guess. But it is, I think, a phenomenal flavor. Heavy on the smoke, heavy on that peat flavor. But the smoothness to it, right? I don't get much burn at all. It goes down great. Being conditioned to it, for $72-$73, whatever it was, I think that's a solid ass bottle of a single malt Scotch. And to the point earlier, it's a beautiful bottle, with a cool like runes and that kind of like Viking tattoo look all over it. Just a cool bottle, and that's what caught my eye. So good on them for marketing. And tasty.
Nice. I actually heard a very interesting trick about very smoky scotches and bourbons and things like that. If you mix it with a little bit of ginger ale, it actually cuts the smoky.
Stop.
Look,
stop.
Hey, hold on.
You can't have any of my good liquor.
From what I've heard is if you're getting into it, like if you actually want to get into scotches and bourbons, that's what I was told. Hold on.
Stick to Jewelers. Blended scotches, like
hold on.
So if you want to get into drifting, get a front-wheel drive car and put Burger King trays in the back.
No. I'm being serious. Like the person who actually told me this was a regular like Scotch and bourbon drinker, and he told me, he's like, if you want to get into it, just add a splash of ginger ale so you can get used to the flavor, because it cuts that smokiness, and when you get used to it, you start eliminating it, so it actually helps drink it.
I'm going to say this person that is wrong. What you're supposed to do is add some water, a few drops of water. It releases the aromatics.
Yes.
I choose not to, but it releases the aromatics, gives you the smells that you're looking for out of the glass.
And it's less of the alcohol burn. You still get the flavor.
It'll kind of cut that. At the moment you add anything with flavor, you've destroyed the tasting profile of. I don't care what anybody says. You all know my buddy Slim. I gave this dude some Gold Label once, and he poured the snifter into a bottle of Diet Coke, and I wanted to come across the couch and kill him. So,
Diet Coke.
Oh, dude, I almost lost my mind. So the moment anybody says something about adding soda to a good Scotch or a bourbon or a cognac or something, I want to just wring their neck, because you just destroyed the flavor of it at that point. There's supposed to be some subtleness to it, but
at least I was gonna put a splash of ginger ale. I wasn't gonna pour it into a bottle of Diet Coke.
I'm just saying.
Now, what if it's real ginger, not the fake ass ginger ale, but like the real ginger with true
like ginger beer?
You either drink it or you don't. And if anything, a couple drops of water, good water.
Ginger beers for
maybe.
vodka because it doesn't taste.
What
like
is good water? Is that like not tap water?
Out
Is
of,
that
the,
like
out of the filter. I wouldn't add some mineralized tap water if I could help myself. Like no
is it
city
still
water.
Is it sparkling water? Some Perrier.
Maybe some liquid death.
Yeah.
There you go.
Keeping with the
Splash
Viking
of
theme, I
liquid
like
death.
it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
Sorry,
You know
Eric, your person's wrong.
Probably. It was like it was a client of mine that at my old job that he mentioned that. I mean, like I don't talk to him still. Like he was what was it?
You left him in the past for a reason, okay?
He was the CFO or he was a client. He was a client. He was like the CFO or like the director of finance. Like the dude was cool as hell. I kind of miss communicating with him. He was actually a real cool guy. I know what country club he works at. I might have to hit him up. He's a cool guy.
Drop a like, subscribe, and then comment in the comment section if we should do a Scotch tasting comparison where we add weird things to Scotches just to piss Nick off.
That's not a bad idea. Well, I'll partake.
We should.
I will partake just
You know
for
what?
the science of it.
I'll do it anyways. I'm gonna do it anyways
for
next
science.
week. Next week. I have
If we get
bottles.
50 likes, we're all gonna do it.
Listen. I have a
Let's
bottle.
this low. Come on, guys, give us 50 likes.
I still have
this
that
video.
bottle of Japanese whiskey that you gave me. I have a bottle of Lagavulin, and mind you, my bottle of Lagavulin is like
Lagavulin?
Lagavulin. That was
There
like,
it
it was like 115.
That is a good one.
That's a
was good.
solid choice.
It was good. It's very smoky, but it's still very good. So you know what? I'm gonna have to crack open that bottle tomorrow. Actually, it's already open. It's got like that much left. I just need to polish that off.
I mean, hey, I'm out of my Nick Offerman special edition Lagerbowl, so if you want to bring it over,
I was going to say
share.
I'll bring it.
Nick Offerman
I'll bring it.
Yeah, I'll share. I'll let you try my,
Are you gonna bring the ginger ale?
Viking honor. Don't you dare bring ginger ale with that.
Do it.
Don't you dare. I also have sake for tomorrow night. I got two different types of sake for tomorrow.
Bring some like high C fruit punch or something. Just
you know
just
what?
go.
What is it? Like the grape drink? That Publix, the purple?
Capri Sun, the damn thing.
I'll bring some grape drink.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yes.
I think you know what?
Let's put some Go-Gurt in the damn thing while we're at it. Like
Go-Gurt.
That's too thick. Like I like my stuff thick, but it would probably
Oh
curdle
my
or
God.
something. And
Where
nobody
the hell
wants
did you
that.
get Go-Gurt from?
cement mixer.
I think
So
that's
wrong.
That's gonna be
there's
the
so
topic
many.
of.
We were here, and then we just.
That's gonna be the topic of next week's podcast. We're just gonna piss off Nick by just pouring random crap into
You start
Scotch
talking
and
about
bourbon.
mixing things in a good liquor, and my head just.
Oh my god!
What about
I'm gonna
maraschino
buy-
cherries? What are your thoughts on putting one or two of those in?
In what?
Oh yeah.
Like an old fashioned? Great.
No, and just like a straight bourbon with like one of those spherical ice cubes.
So at that point, we're talking about soaking fruit and liquor. You're going to get a little bit of flavor with it, and you're going to eat it later, soaked in liquor. I'm
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of okay with that. That's a choice you make to add a little flavor. But ginger ale, or just no. No.
You
Okay,
just
so
gave me
maraschino cherries?
just-
Yes.
You just
Ginger
gave
ale?
me an idea. You just
Also,
gave me an idea.
no.
You know what I'm gonna buy? I'm gonna buy a bottle. All right, so I love. So you introduced me to this, Nick, which is Woodford Reserve.
Yes.
I'm gonna get Woodford Reserve,
plenty of that.
and Old Smoky has alcohol infused cherries.
They do. I also have Old Smoky salty watermelon whiskey and
tried
habanero
that.
mango whiskey.
You said
think I
salted
tried.
watermelon whiskey?
Salty watermelon.
I think I tried that.
If you've never put water,
Can we do
salt
like
on
the
your
tahini watermelon?
Oh, tahini
No.
watermelon.
No, if you've
So
never put salt on your
Oh my
watermelon, it's
God,
pretty good.
it's
It's
so
not as
good.
good as tahini, but if you put salt on a watermelon, it is surprisingly good. It sounds weird.
Oh,
My
yeah.
uncle used to do it when I was a kid, and I thought it was weird. And then I found tahini when I was an adult. I was like, it all makes sense. It
Yeah.
all makes sense now.
Yeah.
So
but-
okay, so maraschino cherries are good. What else? What else can you put in, or maybe can't you put in?
I mean, it's going to depend on the flavor profile of the Scotch, bourbon, cognac, whatever you're drinking. I mean, sure, you could probably add some stuff. Like we know cherries are pretty common when you're doing old fashions and stuff. Some form of I made some great chocolate old fashions. You can get
Yeah.
away with some more savory, sweet flavors when you make some of these things. But when you go like sickeningly sweet or tart or something like that, I think you've lost it. That's my issue with like ginger ale. You start getting that kind of bitiness and that spice to it.
Bitter
I think
spice.
that's too much. I think when you talk about a savory with a touch of sweet, like a tart cherry or something,
Do you
I
not
think
like
you can get
ginger?
away with that flavor. Like
You're-
because you put
You're a
bitters in
well-traveled
so
man.
much.
You love Asian cuisine. You don't like ginger.
I okay. So ginger, I could probably.
so
I
confused.
guarantee
Mike
I
has
could find a,
unlocked.
I bet you I could find a way to make a drink with some muddled ginger and bourbon and probably make it phenomenal. But the ginger ale with the sugars in it and stuff like that, the idea of adding artificial sweeteners and stuff to my liquors just kind of kills it for me, right? I'm not making a foo-foo drink for somebody at a bar
Seagrams would be
that wants
so
to get
offended right
blasted.
now. We need to tag Seagrams in this post and find out exactly
Okay,
what they think
so
about your
Seagrams is
opinion.
one of the last things that comes to my mind when I think good whiskey. So
No, I meant their ginger ale, bro. They make ginger ale
I was
also.
thinking
No.
Seagram 7 too, and I'm like, that's more like a
Seagram's
mid-tier.
7. Like I was thinking Seagram's and 7, and there's a place for that. But
Clearly not in your glass.
again, I have my snifters, and I like my whiskey glasses, and I like it neat.
Yeah.
I just need you to
You're
put your
bougie.
pinky up when you drink. Just pinky up, please. That's all I ask. Little SpongeBob reference.
There it is.
So, guys, let us know in the comments, what can we mix or what can we try to mix in a whiskey or a bourbon, and we'll get Nick's opinion on it because apparently he's our aficionado.
Our bourbon is
And if you anger him, like I'd appreciate that. I'm sure the rest of the guys would like.
Oh,
Put
yeah.
something in there to like just to mess with them.
Yeah,
Milk.
somebody's gonna talk about like Clamato and some shit. Like somebody's gonna say something stupid. Like,
Okay, first off, if you add Clamato to any beer, it has to be either Modelo, not the Negro, regular Modelo,
No. We're talking
or
about
Corona.
We're talking about
Yeah, it's got to be the regular one, or it's got to be Corona because it's like it's like a Spanish.
no, Modelo, bro.
Yeah, no, I know
Chelada
Modelo.
with tahini on the rim.
It's like a Bloody Mary. It's like
Fire.
a Hispanic Bloody Mary.
So good.
So good.
Mike, what did you say you want on the rim?
Tahini
Yeah.
on the rim of the glass with what did you?
Oh, the
think
glass,
of it?
okay.
yeah, he wasn't talking about no rimmers. No rim jobs.
Listen, anytime I go to number
Wow.
three,
We
I
really got on a
appreciate.
tangent there.
Yeah. Anytime I go to number three, and we always talk about number three, gotta give a shout out to Brandon, which I don't know if you guys know this. Brandon,
All my kids
Brandon-
come from them.
Brandon is now on Instagram. I'll send you guys his profile. But I'm gonna tag him on this video and give him a shout out because Brandon is an awesome dude. We all love number three. But anytime that I go, I was there last week and I can't remember. I don't know who the new girl is, that emo chick. She's cool. And Tara was there.
Oh,
and I
she's
was
one of my
ordering-
buddy's sisters.
Oh,
What's
okay.
her name?
I don't know, but like she's newer. She's been there for like a month or two or so or something. But she,
the one that talks shit about my kids coming with me. Great, sweet.
yes,
The
Yes,
one
that
that
one.
because you had to put up the
Real
sign.
winner.
It's all your fault,
Real
Nick. They
winner
put up
right
a
there.
sign.
yeah. Anyways,
What did I miss?
oh dude,
It was
I'll tell you
hilarious.
about it tomorrow.
Kids
Yeah,
were
we'll
going
say about it
crazy
tomorrow.
at a bar. It was
Yeah.
funny.
Oh,
But anyways, anytime
mine
that I
were-
go, anytime that I go, they're always like, "Oh, do you want a rim job like with your pumpkin beer?" Because like I guess that they have like pumpkin syrup with like sugar, and I'm like, I'll pass
Yep.
on the rim job today. But yeah, that's actually really funny.
That's a real thing.
Okay, so this is gonna
Wait, what?
sound weird. I've gone to a
Ship
bar
your-
with
The rim with the drink or what?
No, the rim
I've gone to a
job.
bar with
Rim
Mike.
job is a real thing with
and
a drink.
They
yes.
did
With a-
the sweet
Oh, with the drink,
rim
man.
with
I
whatever.
thought we were
It was
going like
good.
down the innuendo.
back to
again.
the upside down pineapples again. Is that where
Yeah, like you're talking about rim jobs are like a normal thing for you. So
moving on. Nick, you were saying.
Moving aside from the sexual aspect of it, I went to a random bar in Naples with Mike across from a dealership that I was visiting one day, and they did that. They had I think it was Pumpkin or something, and they did like a sweet rim with like
was that Whiskey Park?
yeah, right across from the Ford store.
Yep.
Not the one I work at, a different one. That was actually pretty good. I mean, my hands were sticky as shit when it was all said and done, but sorry, that was actually pretty damn delicious with
Yeah,
that like
it's good.
slightly sweeter rim
So-
to it. And
Yeah.
A lot of it's funny. A lot of bars will use caramel syrup
Mhm.
as like the liquid, and then they dip it in cinnamon and brown sugar, and then it's kind of like where they came up with this. So caramel dip and then the cinnamon sugar rim. And it's like you said, it just the way that they pour the beer, a lot of it runs over the side, so the whole thing just becomes a sticky mess. But it's really good. I mean, it's Carmelo's just thinking about sticky messes on the rim.
No, he's just losing it right now.
I'm just enjoying my beer, guys, and enjoying
this guy.
our conversation.
This guy.
Anywho, that's all. Jeez, this guy. We're gonna have to censor We're gonna have to censor Carmelo now. Anyways, that's all the time that we have for today.
Drinking today.
Yeah, apparently. That's all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. Remember to savor your brews and hit the road responsibly. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Cheers to Boots and Cars, and we'll see you guys next week.
BBC.
Cheers.